Hey y'all, back again. Tom Rini going into lesson 2 of our strength bias program designed for competitive CrossFit athletes or functional fitness athletes. The last one we talked about what we're going to use in order to build stronger athletes. Now remember, this is all part of an annualized training plan. So we'll take 6 or 8 weeks to train this way. Maybe even we've extended it as long as 3 months, depending upon what ability levels the athletes are. But then we'll transition into a little bit more of full-on CrossFit style work where we're doing some heavy lifting, maybe post energy system piece or things along those lines. So just be aware of that. We don't do this extended throughout the whole year. Although you could, as long as you're intelligent about the movements that you're doing with what we have here. So we talked about max effort, we talked about dynamic effort in the form of Olympic weightlifting, and then we talked about triphasic work, okay? So how do we put that into what they call a microcycle? A microcycle in the world of strength conditioning is generally a 7-day period or a 1-week period in which you focus on a specific topic as part of a larger mesocycle. Mesocycle could be 4, 6, 8 weeks long. So it's kind of taking a big chunk of space or big chunk of time that we want to develop something and then breaking it down on a weekly basis, determining what we want to do even further, a little bit more detailed within that work. What I decided to do is I've implemented all these things is take those microcycles that we have and extend them, instead of being a 1-week microcycle, extending them 10 days. As far as I know and anything that I have read, there's nothing that says you can't do that. So we're going to do that, okay? So how do we do this? If we look at a 10-day period, day 1 will be a max effort, right? That's that 90% plus work, okay? And it's usually going to be a lower focus. I like to do lower first thing of the week, coming off a rest day, generally the day before, so we're primed, ready to move some weight, everything's good and somewhat recovered from the work before, okay? Then day 2 will be generally a CrossFit day or an ESD day. We'll work on energy system health or adaptation work, things that are going to allow us to recover from the training. Day 3 will be our max effort. Again, 90+% of upper body focus, right? So any type of upper body pressing, pulling, anything that you want to do. Skip day 4 again, either a recovery day or what we call an adaptation day here at Black Flag. Adaptation simply means understanding that any type of training we do, it only develops us as athletes during that time to adapt. So if we don't allow ourselves time to adapt, if we don't focus on adaptation from all the training, it's going to be hard to make progress. One of the biggest issues we have, especially with younger athletes or newer athletes, is what? They want to do more. Problem is if you continue to do more, you're going to develop less, right? If you continue to do more, you're going to develop less. And the reason being is because we don't have time to adapt to the work that we've been doing. So adaptation or recovery day, then we get into our dynamic effort or Olympic day. Remember, we're going to utilize the chart that Prelipin was nice enough to put together for us, and we're working with those percentages. If I see athletes are really dragging a little bit, we'll work at the lower spectrum of those optimal rep ranges and percentage ranges. So we'll work at 60% for 24 to 30 repetitions total of work. If the athletes are really pushing, or I really want to overtrain them a little bit to create a much bigger stimulus, so when they do adapt, they do have somewhat of what they call a supercompensation or overcompensation. We'll go a little bit higher in that scale, working that 80%, pushing into 90% for anywhere from 6 to 15 repetitions, okay? So that's day 5. Day 6, we'll go dynamic effort, again, Olympic, generally counter to what we were doing. So if we're doing a lot of pulling here, full snatches, full cleans, anything like this, we'll take this and this will be an upper body Olympic day. So push jerks, split jerks, working on those types of things. Another rest day in here. Actually, probably not a rest day, potentially a rest day, but it's probably an energy system day, working within certain training zones and things of that nature to facilitate recovery. Then we get into our triphasic work for both lower and upper, right? So we'll go triphasic lower here, and then triphasic upper here. Now, the triphasic work is incredibly taxing. The percentages that you're going to work there are within that 75 to 90% range. The rep schemes, though, will be very, very low. No more than 1 to 2 repetitions. Depending upon what percentage, the lower percentage, you can go a little bit higher into 3 reps. As you get into higher percentages, though, those reps are going to come down so you can maximize. And when we talk about, say, if we were doing triphasic lower and we're in the eccentric phase, so probably in that first 2 weeks of the cycle, first 2 microcycles, that eccentric work could be as much as 6 seconds lowering yourself down, right? So that is pretty difficult with 80 or 85% on the bar. So 1 to 2 repetitions is all they're going to be doing. You also have to prepare your athletes mentally that they may have to dump in work like this. Not so much in the first rep, but say if we're doing 2 reps there, they'll have to do that. Triphasic upper, same idea, some type of pressing variation. Again, with CrossFit athletes, we do a lot of overhead work, so it'll probably be some type of standing press variation. Although we do bench presses as well. We've always been an advocate of bench presses. Even when nobody was doing it in CrossFit, I still think that there is value to a bench press if administered properly. The problem with the bench press, much like anything else, is that if it's administered or taught improperly or not taught at all, that's where issues lie. So we have nothing wrong with bench presses here. Day 10 is the end of the cycle. So you'll have nothing going on here. Again, that'll be your energy system development or your CrossFit work for the week. And then we go right back up into day 1. So that would start the second cycle. So that tells you what a 10-day leg on how do we get max effort work, dynamic effort work, and triphasic work within a microcycle. Simple. We extend the microcycle. Stay tuned. We got lesson 3 coming up. We talked about this a little bit. How do we integrate now that energy system work so we can maintain our level of fitness as we go through this training cycle? So stay tuned. We'll see you soon.
Man on 3. 1, 2, 3.